Welcome to Will It Build, the series where I take your builds from my YouTube comments and Discord server and put them to the test to see if they are the real deal. If it's solid, then I'll gift you 1,000 silver, and if it's really something special, you'll be featured in a dedicated build video for your submitted build. So comment yours below so we can answer the question, will it build? Welcome back to another episode of Will It Build, where today we have a hunter build submitted by Ghostly that promises to give us an extra 1,394% damage, called the Big Iron Taken Hunter build. Now, before we start this build, I do want to do some emblem giveaways with this episode, same way we've been doing them for the past couple of episodes, where we will give one away to a random commenter who also likes the video and is subscribed to the channel. So go ahead and leave a comment down below, maybe what exotic armor piece or exotic weapon you want to see in the next episode of Will It Build. And the other emblem code will be given away in the video. It's hidden somewhere in the video, so just keep your eyes peeled. We're going to make this one a little tough on y'all. We're going to hide it really, really well, so make sure you're really looking out for it. But let's get to the build right here. We're kicking this build off with Lucky Pants, the exotic boots that absolutely juice the damage of hand cannons, and they actually function a little bit differently than they functioned the last time I made a Lucky Pants build video. Same idea, where as you pull out a hand cannon and get precision hand cannon shots, you get a stacking damage buff, but the specific downtime and cooldown and activation period of Lucky Pants is a little different than it used to be. Specifically, whenever we ready a hand cannon, we get illegally modded holster, which is the buff that is going to increase our hand cannon damage for 6 seconds, direct hits against combatants. Did I say precision hits previously? I might have been wrong. Either I was wrong about that and it's any hits, or they changed it to be not precision hits anymore and just regular hits. Either way, direct hits against combatants do not have to be precision, grant stacks of illegally modded holster up to a maximum of 10 stacks. And each stack is going to give us 45% increased direct impact damage up to 450% at a max 10 stacks. What's really cool about Lucky Pants now though, and I don't know if this is intentional or not, where after illegally modded holster expires or upon stowing your hand cannon, if illegally modded holster stacks were at 7 or higher, then you get the out of luck debuff for 10 seconds, which means you can't activate illegally modded holster again. You can't get that stacking damage buff. But what's really cool about this is the inverse of that means that if you swap hand cannons or the buff expires at 6 stacks, then you do not get out of luck, which is really interesting to me because this was not the case on the old Lucky Pants. In fact, I'm sure people who tried it out back in the day experienced a situation where they pull out their hand cannon and then they're like, oh, never mind, I want to go back to my other weapon, and they put their hand cannon away to go to their other weapon, and then boom, you're out of luck for 10 seconds, even though you didn't even shoot a bullet with the hand cannon, you didn't even take advantage of illegally modded holster at all. So it's kind of a safeguard against that, but I'm actually really curious if in our gameplay loop, if we can take advantage of something like this to never have out of luck. And what I mean by that is, I'm thinking if we pull out our hand cannon, shoot 6 bullets, so we're at 6 stacks, and then put it away, can we just pull it right back out, refresh our stacks, and then like keep infinitely stacking up to 6, if that makes sense? Yeah, we don't get to the 10 to get the 450%, but I'm thinking like for non-boss targets or something like that, where we don't need 10 stacks and 450%, I think that could be something that's extremely strong, especially in contest mode content, could be really potent and powerful for the upcoming Rite of the Nine contest mode dungeon mode. But what are we pairing the Lucky Pants with? They are setting us up with the Malfeasance hand cannon, which is spectacular. Very high fire rate, so we can very easily stack up the Lucky Pants illegally modded holster buff. It's got a magazine of 19, so plenty of bullets in the mag, so that in those situations where we do want to mag dump and get to the X10 and absolutely smoke a powerful target, we can take full advantage of that 450% buff with as many rounds as possible, since we won't have to reload anytime soon. Intrinsically stuns unstoppable champions, and also intrinsically does extra damage to taken enemies as well. Malfeasance actually has 20, even though it says 19. I thought it had 20 bullets in the magazine. Thank you. I thought I was crazy. Malfeasance also, assuming you have the catalyst, has Vorpal Weapon, which, because it's a primary ammo weapon, means that it's going to deal a bonus 20% damage to any boss slash mini boss slash vehicle, anything like that. Now, before we get to the rest of the build, I do want to test my theory about, can we take advantage of the fact that we only get the out of luck debuff if we're at 7 stacks stacks or higher by continuously pulling out the Malfeasance, shooting 6 bullets, put it in the pocket, and then pulling it back out. Now, y'all know how much I love builds, so I've been trying to stay healthy and work on my real life build in the gym. Problem is, I always have such a tough time blocking out all of the outside noise and just focusing up and locking in. Or at least I did before the sponsor of this video, Raycon. Whether it's taking calls or listening to music, videos, or streams, I'm always using these puppies. And with their latest model, I get a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that lets the earbuds pair with 2 devices at once, so I can seamlessly swap between audio through my phone when I'm at the gym or in the car, and to my PC when I get home. Speaking of battery, with Raycon's quick charge function, just 10 minutes of charging nets 90 minutes of battery life. And I can't tell you how clutch the active noise cancellation is for helping me stay focused on lifting or work without getting distracted by surroundings. Add in the IP66 weatherproofing and earbud tap functions, and you've got the complete package in 2 ergonomically designed and comfortably fitting earbuds. It's also the perfect Mother's Day gift. So whether it's for you or the world's best mom, go to buyraycon.com/Mactics to get 20% off site-wide. Brought to you by Raycon. Now let's get back to the build. Additionally, correct me if I'm wrong, but previously, the only way a legally modded holster procced when you pulled out a hand cannon was if that hand cannon was fully loaded, aka the magazine was fully loaded up. But as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem like that's the case anymore. So back in the day, there was a really weird situation. Like, Lucky Pants was kind of weird to use. It was very good, don't get me wrong, but it was kind of funky in its functionality, where you would pull it out, mag dump for a legally modded holster, and then you would switch to something else to deal damage with your other weapon and continue killing that enemy. And then you would have to switch back to the hand cannon, reload the hand cannon so that it had a full magazine so it could reproc a legally modded holster. And then you have to switch to a different weapon and then pull your hand cannon back out again. So you were pulling out a fully loaded. It was just weird. There was some funky quirks to how the hand cannon worked. So my thing is right here, I'm thinking we go boom, boom, stack it up, and then we're at 6. And then we can pull it back out. We're getting that illegally modded holster again, and then we put it back. Boom. Yeah, okay. So you guys see what I mean when I'm saying, like, we can just kind of fully take advantage of ×6 on the hand cannon? As long as we don't go to 7, we never go out of luck, which means we never lose our DPS buff. So I'm thinking we can go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then swap weapons real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Swap weapons real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Swap weapon. You kind of picking up what I'm putting down in terms of the gameplay loop. I think that could genuinely be extremely powerful. I mean, sure, there's going to be certain targets where you do just want to mag dump and go up to the 10 stacks, right? Like maybe some champions and grandmaster content and things of that nature. But like when you're just doing general ad clear, you can really like embody that gunslinger vibe. The ease of use of Lucky Pants is way nicer these days than it used to be. There were so many conditions that you had to meet. For example, back in the day, Lucky Pants, the element of your hand cannon had to be either kinetic or it had to match your super, and you would only get a legally modded holster if the hand cannon was fully loaded when you pulled it out. And any time that you went off the hand cannon when a legally modded holster was active, you would immediately get out of luck for 10 seconds no matter what. Nowadays, it's just kind of better in every single way. It's easier to use in every single way. The only detriment now is that instead of getting a legally modded holster for 10 seconds, we only get it for 6. So our overall window of maximum 10 stack damage is a little bit lower. Your brain doesn't have to do nearly as much work when it comes to using this exotic properly now, which I kind of like a lot because it means your brain can focus on other things like your other ability loops and your rotations and your mods and your combos and things of that nature. Speaking of which, let's get to the rest of the build. For the rest of the build, they've got us set up with the Prismatic subclass, and they say that our super can be Silence and Squall, Golden Gun Marksman, or Shadow Shot Deadfall, aka Tether. However, we can equip the Arc or Strand one for activity surges if we would like. What they're talking about specifically with activity surges is the overcharged weapons. So for things like Grandmaster Nightfalls and anything with surges, they typically have the overcharged weapons modifier, which means that if your super element matches the element of a surge on that activity, then your kinetic weapons get a 25% damage bonus. They say that they prefer Silence and Squall when they don't have to worry about activity surges, so we will give Silence and Squall a try to start out, although we might end up changing this down the line. I think supers, when it comes to super for Hunter, you have a lot of freedom. I think generally speaking, you're always going to go Squall, Tether, or Golden Gun, however. They then have a setup with a Marksman's Dodge, presumably just because it's a very easy way to snap our fingers and reload our Malfeasance so that we can make sure we have maximum uptime on our hand cannon damage, our Lucky Pants damage. For the melee ability, they have a setup with Snare Bomb. I'm assuming the main reason they have us rocking and rolling with this is so we have a way to weaken targets so we can do even more damage to them. For the extra tanky targets, get closer to that 1,394% bonus damage towards any enemy target that we choose. Over on the grenade, they have a setup with a Duskfield grenade so that we can just go ahead and chuck it out, slow and freeze targets. Nice for general ad clear, nice for general crowd control. And I think a big reason they're setting us up with Duskfield Grenade here plays in to our first aspect, Winter's Shroud, which slows nearby targets whenever we use our dodge near them, which is fantastic because we have a very low cooldown dodge in Marksman's Dodge. But anytime we slow targets, we briefly increase our class ability regeneration. So we kind of have a positive feedback loop between our dodge and Winter's Shroud, but also that slow can come from any source to increase our class ability regeneration rate, which means anytime we slow targets with our Duskfield Grenade as well, that will also activate that second line of Winter's Shroud to also give us significantly increased class ability regeneration rate. So we're dodging a lot more frequently, keeping that Malfeasance reloaded, keeping our other guns reloaded, and proccing any class ability usage-based mods. Over on the other aspect, they have a setup with Gunpowder Gamble, which works a little bit differently on Prismatic compared to the Solar version. We're defeating targets with any abilities or any elemental debuff damage or solar weapons. We get to charge up that solar explosive. Now, if I recall correctly, depending on what we kill enemies with, that is going to charge up our solar explosive, our Gunpowder Gamble, slower or faster. And so what I mean by that is, if we come over here to the Destiny Data Compendium and we look up Gunpowder Gamble, right here, we need to get to 6 stacks to be able to throw the Gunpowder Gamble. And if we get a weapon kill, that will give us 1 stack towards that. If we get a kill with elemental debuff damage, that will give us 3 stacks. Any ability kill will give us 4 stacks, and then super kills will give us 6 stacks. So for example, if we kill an enemy with elemental debuff damage, and then we kill an enemy with an ability, those 2 kills will give us all 6 of our stacks and ready our Gunpowder Gamble for usage. What I am curious about though is, does the enemy have to die specifically to the elemental debuff damage, or is it just if an enemy that is elementally debuffed dies? So I do want to test that real quick. So for example, if I dodge next to these guys, it'll slow them from Winter's Shroud, and then I get the hand cannon kill, and I did not get any stacks towards Gunpowder Gamble. So I think it does have to be the elemental damage specifically that does get the kill. Okay, so yeah, they do indeed have to die to the elemental debuff specifically. It's not enough for them to be afflicted with an elemental debuff and then killed by something else. It does have to be that elemental debuff damage itself that gets the final blow on the enemy to count as 3 stacks. But that's fine. Still plenty of ways to consistently proc that. If you throw it as soon as you get it and at least 2 enemies get killed, you get it back immediately and you can keep throwing continuously. I feel like you're right, because I do remember having situations where I've been using Gunpowder Gamble and I'll throw it and get a kill with it, and then I have it back right away, and I'm just thinking to myself like, wait, why didn't I literally just throw this? Isn't there supposed to be a cooldown? What's going on here? So you're saying if I throw it immediately, get 2 kills. Oh my. That is super cool, though. That's a great tip. Thank you. Moving down to our fragments, they have a setup with the Facet of Grace, where defeating targets with kinetic weapons grants us bonus Transcendence energy. Does make sense, as we are defeating most enemies with our Malfeasance, so we get even more Transcendence energy. I think the idea of this is we're in permanent Transcendence. We'll see how we feel about it as we get going. Set up with the Facet of Dawn, where powered melee hits against targets makes us radiant. I feel like we might struggle a little bit to maintain this, as our only source of powered melee is our Snare Bomb, and we're not utilizing Gambler's Dodge, so we don't have like a snap of the finger way to get it back. So we are going to be proccing Fast of Dawn infrequently. So I'm not 100% sure about Fast of Dawn, at least in conjunction with the Snare Bomb. I might consider, if we were doing this, swapping it for something like Combination Blow or Threaded Spike or Withering Blade, where we have ways to more readily utilize powered melee final blows. I actually wouldn't go Combination Blow because we don't have Gambler's Dodge to get it back, so I'd probably go Threaded Spikes. We can catch it for melee energy, or Withering Blade because we get 2 charges. That would also play in nicely to our Winter Shroud as well. We do lose a little bit of damage because we can't weaken targets, but I'm just kind of brainstorming a little bit right now. We then have the Fast of Purpose. We're picking up an Orb of Power, grants us an elemental buff based on our equipped super. If we stick with Silence and Squall like they said they like to use, we'll get Frost Armor based on that pickup. We would get Overshield if we decide to use Tether, and we get Restoration if we decide to use Golden Gun. Me personally, I like Restoration the most out of that bunch, so I might end up switching to Golden Gun. I also think Overshield's super nice because you get damage resistance and bonus hit points as opposed to just bonus damage resistance with the Frost Armor. In slot 4, we have the Fast of Solitude. We're landing rapid precision hits, emits a severing blast from the target. Makes perfect sense because we're going to be beaming stuff with our Malfeasance. It's also fantastic for any higher end content, Grandmasters, contest mode stuff. It's really great for with us going into Rite of the Nine. I think that's going to be super impactful. Next, we have the Fast of Hope, where we have an elemental buff. Our class ability regenerates more quickly. I'm slightly skeptical of this. We don't have a lot of elemental buffage going on at the current moment. If we had something like Ascension instead of Winter Shroud, then I would be more willing to take this, I think, because then we can have Amplified up all the time. We don't really have a lot of stuff that elementally buffs us. We could have Radiant infrequently, I suppose, but that's about it. Frost Armor from Orb of Power pickup would help with this. I just don't know how much mileage we're going to be getting out of the Fast of Hope, in conjunction with the fact that I don't really know how much we need it, considering that we have Winter Shroud already, giving us bonus class ability regeneration. Do we really need it from Fast of Hope as well? I don't really know. I think I'm probably going to end up making some modifications to some of these fragments after we play around with the build. Also have Fast of Command, where freezing or suppressing a target reloads our equipped weapons and increases weapon stability, aim assist, and airborne effectiveness. Defeating frozen or suppressed targets creates a stasis shard or void breach. I think this plays into the Dustfield Grenade in conjunction with the slowing from our dodge. But again, I don't really know how necessary it is to have something like this. Do we really need our weapons reloading when we already have a dodge that can reload them? It feels like we're double dipping in a couple of different areas with some of our fragment choices in conjunction with our class ability / aspect choices. And it feels like we're going overkill on certain aspects. We're investing too many resources in certain aspects when we can pull back on some of those aspects and utilize some other things. Like, for example, I think there's a good reason to get like faster protection somewhere in here. I'm not entirely sure we need the marksman's dodge. As always, we're going to try out the build and then we'll make modifications later. Before we get to the mods, as far as weapons goes, they simply recommended that we use solar weapons that can help us out a lot with ad clear. They said the one thing this build doesn't do particularly well is like multi-target ad clear. You can juice a ton of damage into single targets with the Malfeasance and the Lucky Pants, obviously, but your general ad clear is a little rough around the edges. So they said solar weapons are really nice because getting kills with the solar weapons gives you stacks towards Gunpowder Gamble, and going with things like Aberrant Action is what they recommended for the energy. If you have access to that Rocket Sidearm from Echoes, you can craft it out with Heal Clip and Incandescent, so you have like Incandescent spreading everywhere, even more stacks towards Gunpowder Gamble, and the Heal Clip is also, generally speaking, very nice for staying healthy. And then they recommended something like a auto-loading holster, Envious Arsenal, Reconstruction, Rocket Launcher down in the heavy slot. So it is dealer's choice. You could go something completely different if you would like. Now, as far as mods go, they have us set up with a heavy ammo finder in conjunction with a kinetic siphon for orb of power generation on the Malfeasance multi-kills, in conjunction with a siphon matching your energy ad clear weapon. So I'm going with Aberrant Action, so I have the solar, but if you're going like Lotus Eater, for example, you could go with a Void Siphon instead. Down on the gloves, they have us set up with triple firepower so that we can generate an orb of power on grenade final blows every 1 second, as opposed to every 10 seconds if we only had 1 copy of firepower, or every 5 seconds if we had 2 copies of firepower. I feel like the angle for this is Gunpowder Gamble, because obviously we can't get grenade final blows with our Dustfield Grenade, but this does seem overkill, even though there is the possibility where we can spam throw it with the little trick that we just learned. Even so, I feel like it's very circumstantial that that's going to occur. I think I'll probably want to swap this for maybe a loader instead, or maybe some ability regeneration mods, but of course, we'll make that decision after we have an opportunity to mess around a little bit. Down on the chest piece, simple as can be, resistances, concussive dampeners, whatever you decide to go with here. On the boots, they have a setup with a kinetic weapon surge, 10% bonus damage on the Malfeasance, in conjunction with an absolution and of recuperation. Me personally, I think I might end up swapping this Absolution for a second kinetic weapon surge so I can get 17% bonus damage, take our damage up even higher. We can get past that 1,394%, but we'll see in a bit. And then finally on the class item, loading up on Reaper, powerful attraction, and time dilation so we can get a little bit more mileage out of our kinetic weapon surge. And before we hop in to test it out, one of my favorite things about this build, it is not reliant on any seasonal, artifact, episodic, whatever you want to call them, temporary mods whatsoever in any capacity, meaning that this build is evergreen, full stop, no questions asked. So you'll be able to use it now. You'll be able to use it in the Edge of Fate expansion. You'll be able to use it in future expansions. Only way you're unable to use this is if somehow Lucky Pants get nerfed or Malfeasance gets nerfed or one of the key components of the build gets nerfed. And frankly, I don't see that happening anytime soon. Let's hop into the highest difficulty of Lost Sector we can find, Master Lost Sector, and answer that question, will it build? So I'm going to kind of try and play that playstyle that I alluded to previously, where we're kind of 3, 4, 5, 6. We don't really want to go above 6 stacks of illegally modded holster, because then we lose the ability to have illegally modded holster. See, like right there, I kind of messed up a little bit. Although on the barrier champion, it's probably fine. I don't know how I feel about the gunpowder gamble aspect of it. I feel like gunpowder gamble's damage is kind of okay. I'm trying to see like how quickly I can swap on the hand cannon to reset my illegally modded holster. Because like if I do this, if you do it too fast, it won't actually swap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, see, like right there, I tried to hit a little swap, but I was a little too fast on it. But I guess it kind of worked out because I kind of wanted that 10x for that Minotaur. I feel like I'd way rather have something like Stylish Executioner or Threaded Spectre over Gunpowder Gamble. I just don't really get what Gunpowder Gamble's accomplishing for me. I feel like I'm not getting a lot of mileage out of it. I guess why do I care about Gunpowder Gamble when I have a hand cannon that's going to do 450% bonus damage? You could make the argument that it's just for the ad clear, I suppose, but I mean, isn't that what the entire point of our rocket sidearm is? I guess is my train of thought. I also don't hate the idea of the smoke bomb because I forgot the entire fact that whenever you pop Transcendence, you just get to spam your melee ability. If we're getting Transcendence really, really quickly, then my concern about not really having a good way to get our melee ability back is not really that valid. At the current moment for me, it feels like we're investing so much into getting our dodge back quickly when it comes to all of our slowing abilities and our grenade and Winter Shroud. And the Facet of Hope, like we're investing an aspect, a fragment, and an ability into a specific class ability choice that doesn't even really benefit the subclass that well. Reloading Malfeasance does not take that long, and it would be even shorter as well if we went with like a kinetic loader, which I think we could very well do because I also don't really see a huge point in having triple firepower, especially considering that the only use case for that is like spamming Gunpowder Gamble kills, which in most echelons of content, we're just not really doing that. So I really like the Lucky Pants and Malfeasance pairing. I really like the Aberrant Action selection as well. I honestly think I want to rewrite a lot of aspects of this build. First things first, starting with the super, I really want to get some more survivability through the Facet of Purpose. I think I want to go Golden Gun so that when I get orbs, I get restoration, because one, that frees up the need to take recuperation on my boots, so I can swap that out for something else. And generally speaking, it's just better for survival. Like me personally, I would rather have something that restores my health / gives me health than something that gives me damage resistance. So I'd much rather have restoration over frost armor personally. What do you guys think about swapping both aspects? We go Winter Shroud and Gunpowder Gamble. Instead, we go Ascension and Threaded Spectre. I feel like we're just not getting a lot of synergy with these two aspects with this Malfeasance Lucky Pants one-shot power fantasy that we're going for, because I would much rather go Ascension because it gives me Amplified, makes me tankier, so we get that survivability aspect, plus it gives me 50 mobility, so I get higher class ability uptime, plus it gives me a permanent elemental buff and Amplified, permanent if I'm using Ascension all the time, which allows me to get way more mileage out of Facet of Hope without having to invest my other abilities into giving me class ability regeneration through Winter Shroud. Plus, when I use it, I can generate a Threaded Spectre so that enemies are shooting at the Threaded Spectre so that they're not paying attention to me, and then that way I'm not getting flinch whatsoever, and I can just blast them with the Malfeasance because they're focused on my clone. That allows me to also still keep 6 fragment slots, of which I do want to swap a little bit. I like Grace here. I think it makes sense. I like Purpose. I like Solitude. And I like Hope if we do this setup right here. I feel like Command doesn't really make sense at all. I'm also down with Facet of Dawn because I think we will get to use our Snare Bomb quite frequently if we're in Transcendence. So I'm kind of okay keeping Snare Bomb, but I feel like Dustfield is not really necessary at all. Would we go Grapple Grenade? So we actually have 2 ways to activate Dawn, because then we can do our Snare Bomb to activate Dawn because it's powered melee damage. But then our Grapple Melee also counts as powered melee damage. So now we have 2 ways to proc Dawn. Another thing I'm wondering is, do we need Marksman's Dodge? Or do we just go Gamblers? Because then without our Transcendence up, we could go Snare Bomb into an Ascension Gambler's Dodge to create a clone, which will give us back a Snare Bomb. We can blast a target and then Snare Bomb the next target to get Radiant and weaken it, blast that target, and then we can grapple melee another target, get another instance of Radiant, and blast that target. I feel like that loop plays a lot more better and has a lot more synergy with this Malfeasance Lucky Pants power fantasy that we're gunning for, right? Now, I know some might say, well, why not just go Acrobat's Dodge if you're so concerned with having Radiant up? And the reason I don't want to go Acrobat's Dodge is because it has a base cooldown of 1:22, which you contrast to a base cooldown with Gambler's Dodge, which is 38 seconds, which is less than half. And for all intents and purposes, if Dawn is giving us Radiant, then that means having our melee up is giving us Radiant. And if Gambler's Dodge gives us our melee, which gives us Radiant, then that means Gambler's Dodge gives us Radiant, so I don't really love Acrobat's Dodge. Again, like I said, I really don't think we need triple firepower. I am down to go 1 firepower, but I really do want a kinetic loader. I think I want to go Impact Induction. Causing damage with a powered melee attack reduces your grenade cooldown, because that works for both our Smoke Bomb and our Grapple Melee. So we have Grapple Grenade up a lot more frequently, and we can do things with Grapple Melee a lot more like we wanted to. And then on the boots, I really don't see a whole lot of need for Absolution, so I would go another Kinetic Weapon Surge. And I don't see a whole lot of need for Recuperation, because we're going to get Restoration on Orb of Power pickup with our Facet of Purpose now that we have Golden Gun Marksman on, which means we can trade this for a Harmonic Scavenger, which, because we have a Solar Super on now, that aligns with our Solar Sidearm and our Hesitant Vengeance. I know, once again, we don't really need these anymore because we're not using Gunpowder Gamble, so the argument of use solar weapons so that weapon final blows give you Gunpowder Gamble stacks. I guess if you wanted to use Void stuff instead, you could put on Tether and then accomplish the same thing with a Harmonic Siphon if you really wanted to. Right here, I'm fine with the Reaper, Time Dilation, Powerful Attraction. I'm okay keeping that. I'm okay with the Siphons up here. It's really just the gloves that I really wanted to change, and then I guess down here we can fit in another mod. It doesn't really matter too much what we pick, I suppose. I feel like in the previous setup, we were trying to kind of like take 2 different builds and make them work together when they just don't really work together, at least not in higher end content. And right now I feel like we've sacrificed a lot of elements in build number 2, the Gunpowder Gamble dodge spam part of the build, and we've converted those into survivability aspects that give us a lot more Radiant uptime and a lot more weaken uptime and a lot more like weapon reload speed and things of that nature, and a lot more survivability to complement build number 1. So I know we've manipulated a lot. This is very, very, very different than the original build submission, because I think it's going to make it gel a little bit better together. But only way to truly know is to put it to the test. So like right here, I'm just thinking, like I can throw my Smoke Bomb so much more freely. Come on. So a little Smoke Grenade at you, hit the weaken. My illegally modded holster's ready to go. I'm just gonna mag dump him, even though I go over 6 and get the 10-second out of luck. I feel like it's worth it when you're mag dumping a champion. That's it. That's kind of what this build is for. I think you wanna go for the X6 when you're just doing like the general red bar ad clear, and then when you like run across a champion or something really tanky, that's when you mag dump and get the 10. I'll transcend real quick right now. Let's make a clone so that the Hydra shoots at the clone. It's still shooting at me for some reason. You have a pretty clone right there, and you're blasting me. You can use Ascension as many times as you want during Super. What? This guy's about to get smoked. I got him in the head glitch. Smoke Bomb for the weaken, plus my Radiant. Plus, we got our Lucky Pants up. Oh, my days. I'm not even critting him right now. I'm just shooting him in the elbow. Bang, 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 bang. When you're in the Golden Gun Super, you can just spam your class ability? Dude, what? I really like how this works against barrier champions because you can pull out your hand cannon 6 shots to make them pull up their shield and then swap it, since you're only at 6 stacks, to your anti-barrier weapon, break their shield, and then pull your Malfeasance back out, which still has 14 bullets in the mag and is not out of luck because you didn't go above 6 stacks. And then so you can just beam down the rest of the champion. So this is kind of what I ended up with. We kept most things the same. We just doubled up on the kinetic weapon surges, and then we swapped the recuperation for a harmonic scavenger. But at the end of the day, core of the build is still there. Lucky Pants Malfeasance, still the core ideology and core gameplay, and I enjoyed it very, very much. So I appreciate the submission. Thank you very much. It's definitely a winner for Will It Build, but I'm curious what build you have to show to the world. So if you think that you have a really solid build you want to share with the world, please be sure to submit it in the Will It Build channel in our Discord server, linked in the description down below. And if you enjoyed this episode of Will It Build, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can catch future episodes. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a great day.